Welcome back. I'm Jamie.
I'm Kate.
And today we're talking about The Outsiders. So this was popular. I mean, I think it's still, I don't know, do they still read it in middle school? They did when I was in middle school, and that was just a few years ago.
Yeah. Well, at the end, so this is the
20 plus
50th
years ago.
Anniversary edition, and the end, the very end of it, they have little, whatever you want to call it, like
They have from the film, like the
papers and and then from
the actors,
like comments and quotes and stuff.
some of the stuff from and then she's talked about at the beginning all the letters that she got from like people throughout the years. I mean, she wrote this when she was like 15.
Yeah.
So.
Well, at the end, they talk about how they still are going to high schools and middle schools and talking to kids. So I think they do.
I think they still do that. Yeah, they probably do. I mean, it's a good book. There's nothing like other than smoking, and that's not even. Probably when I was young, I don't know if that was a big deal or not, but
I think someone mentioned in one of these things that it was controversial because of that stuff.
Yeah, but there's nothing else controversial.
Come on.
I feel like everybody was smoking in buildings back then.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, it's like you can't even smoke in a restaurant anymore. So it's totally different than it was. But
right.
Yeah.
So this was a good addition to read.
Yeah, it was fun.
So I read it too, but I don't remember
reading it back then.
I mean, I remember that I read it, and for some reason I had it in my head that that Soda dies. Like the whole time,
he was the one that died.
I kept thinking he's gonna die because he was Pony Boy's so attached to him.
Yeah.
And I just had that in my head, so I was really glad that he didn't.
Yeah.
Because
I liked reading it as an adult. Again, I feel like a lot of those books that we read as kids, if they're like classic good literature, that you should go back and read them, because this one's easy read. It's not very long, less than 200 pages, but it has really good stuff, and it makes you think again.
Yeah.
About life and the reasons that it was written in the first place.
I didn't know that S.E. Hinton, I didn't know she wrote it that young.
Yeah.
But then she got it published. It was published right at the end. She got some confirmation at her graduation.
Yeah.
That it was done.
Yeah.
That it would be out in stores.
Right. And probably didn't realize how popular it would be. And then the film, I mean, that made it take off, I'm sure. The actors that were in it, it's a very prominent time for all those actors. So it was a huge, huge thing.
Yeah.
I remember the movie, yeah.
I'm anxious to watch the movie.
Yeah. It really is good. I feel like it brings the book, because it's not a long book, so you could definitely do the whole thing.
Yeah.
That they had in the book. So it's, brings it to life, and then you can see the people. That's what I thought of when I was reading it now, because when I read it then, I didn't ever think about the movie, and now I can think about the people.
Yeah.
That played the characters.
Did you read the part, I didn't know this, that the first cut was not really true to the book, and then they went back and redid it?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Why couldn't they do it with Gone with the Wind?
Yeah. I mean, they did their best, man.
I know, it would have been really long, but I would have liked it if it was really long, I think.
So 3 books or 3 movies is a trilogy.
Yeah.
But that's the only, you don't have a name for...
More than that.
Or even 2 film, just a sequel.
Yeah, sequel.
But
yeah, what's after 4, 5, 6, 7? All those. Oh, what is it?
Harry Potter's and Lord of the Rings.
Fast and the Furious. All those.
Yeah. There's 100 of those.
Yes, there is. Oh, gosh. Anyway, we digress. So the names in this book are funny. Soda Pop, Pony Boy, 2-Bit. I think he has a name, but that's what they call him. It's just funny. Their names. I always thought that was interesting.
And Derry and Dally, that frustrated me. I'm like, why? Why did you do that?
Why couldn't you say Daryl or Dallas and call one of them just by their... Yeah.
It just was...
It gets confusing, too. Then, who are you talking about? Okay, it's him, not him. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Could be confusing.
I love how the ending circles back to the beginning. That was cool.
I don't think I realized that, and I was looking at that. I was like, that's what's at the beginning, right? And then I went back to the very first page. Yeah.
And we both noticed, of course, that Gone with the Wind. They read Gone with the Wind.
Yes.
Story.
He loves that. Pony Boy is wants a copy of it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is. I did not remember that. He loves to read though, and so that was that's cool.
There was another book mentioned, but I can't remember what it is now.
The Carpetbaggers.
The Carpetbaggers.
Yeah, there was that because it was in. I remember that. I was close to the end though.
I've got to look into that.
I was thinking, what is that book? I think I've heard of that, but I don't know what it is.
I can't. There's a movie or a show or something. There was one they said several times, "Boy howdy."
Yeah.
Boy howdy.
Yeah.
Like that was just a phrase.
Yeah.
There's some other film that they say that, and I can't think of what it was, but
Yeah.
so
the premise, yeah, obviously a lot of people know, is the socials and the greasers. Like, it's just the two, they're in the constant battles, like fighting against each other. But it's kind of like just your socioeconomic status, your social status. I feel like that's what it comes down to is, and when you haven't lived the life that they live, I can't imagine. Your their parents, Derry and Soda and Pony's parents had passed away.
yeah.
And so Derry, 20 years old, is trying to hold down 2 jobs so that the brothers can, so that Ponyboy can go to school and they can all stay together. And
Would they do that today?
I don't know.
Is he
20 years
enough?
old, but still, that's not really. I guess if you could show that you could hold down a job, I feel like they want siblings to stay together.
Yeah.
But
if you know the laws on that, comment because we'd be interested.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could look it up, but
yeah,
I was just interested. Would they even do that now? Let us older sibling. I guess because they're technically an adult.
Yeah.
Like you said. But
Yeah. Well, over 18, maybe that just makes all the difference. So thankfully they were older. But
I know that the state likes you to be able to stay with.
yeah, even when you get
Family.
adopted, or family, even if you can go back to anybody in your family is better than, if it's the best.
I just kept thinking, this is completely changing the subject. These books that we've read recently span years. The whole book spans years.
Yeah.
And this one is like a matter of weeks.
Yeah, it's not even very long.
Maybe 2
It's
weeks
true. It's
of
true.
time.
And so much happens.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Because it's just like the first half of the book it's just like 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a week of time when they're in the church.
They're kind of hiding. Mm-hmm.
And then they come back and it's like 2 days later and the book's over.
Yeah.
It's like 2 weeks or less.
Short, but so much happens. I mean, like, incredible amount of stuff on someone's brain and life.
Yeah.
Death and tragedy but I feel like a lot of that was normal. Like, they would get in these fights or rumbles or whatever and bring a knife out and someone dies or someone gets hurt and then they go on but they do it again. It's like, but I think that was just the way of life.
Yeah.
Like, they were just fighting for their place in the world. Like, they were fighting to say, I belong here, like, we're part of this too. We're not gonna just let you walk all over us, I guess.
Just as teenagers or?
Yeah, I feel like,
people?
yeah, as people, because I feel like it seemed like this side of the tracks and this side of the tracks, and I feel like it's still probably like that today, but we just don't see it depending on where you live.
Yeah. And I kept thinking New York when I was reading this. I kept thinking, I don't know what that musical is.
West Side Story.
Yes, that's what I kept thinking of.
Same kind of concept, yeah.
And then I had to look, when I finished it, I had to look back and see where it was set, which was Tulsa.
Yeah.
And I just can't imagine this kind of stuff happening.
I know. It's the bonds too, like the bonds of friendship and what holds you together is not just family, but the bonds that you have and how much they cared about each other. I mean, it's kind of, as an adult, I felt like I was more emotionally attached to like when the characters did, and then they were thinking back on it and they got emotional, like, yeah, how it hits you. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Let's see. Did you feel like this kind of stuff happened in your middle school, high school experience?
I mean, there's always kind of the divide between the groups of people, you know what I mean? But not to that extent or whatever, yeah.
There wasn't like
fighting. I mean, probably some fighting, but not like that. Not to the
every
that
night
degree.
going out for a rumble.
Right.
Like,
or feeling like, I mean, you could die. Like, I never, that's kind of scary. But for sure, there's always, and you had your groups stick together. Yeah. But they were just it was just such a tight-knit group of people. And to various ages, from 20 years old to, 14 or whatever.
And I feel like a lot of them didn't have parents.
Right. Bad home lives or no parents at all. So it's kind of like that's what they clung to. So when the three of them, when Derry and Soda and Pony are talking in the end, like, we're all we have left. Mm-hmm. Like, they're losing their friends are, dying, and it's sad.
Yeah. But there was, what's this quote? This was just kind of random, but I lie to myself all the time, but I never believe me.
Yeah.
I think they had that in.
Oh, yeah, in the back of the book, yeah.
Here. And then that quote, when he's talking to Cherry, that she's like never real with her soc friends.
Yeah.
It seems like we're always searching for something to satisfy us and never finding it. Maybe if we could lose our cool, we could.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept thinking, what does she mean by cool? Like if we could lose our... I looked up cool to see, because I always think of it differently.
Mm-hmm.
But aloof. Like
Okay.
if we could lose our...
That mentality.
High and mighty or whatever.
Yeah.
Feeling.
Be humble. Be
Yeah.
a little more humble. Yeah. Yeah.
That whole conversation with her is just probably my favorite
Mm-hmm.
part of the book, because they both kind of realize that, or Ponyboy realizes that everyone has their problems.
Right. Well, that's what goes with that quote that I said. It says, socias were just guys after all. Things were rough all over, but it was better that way. That way you could tell the other guy was human too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just human. They have their problems. They may, have more money and they may be able to get out of their problems differently, but they still have problems.
Yeah.
Nonetheless. So they're just different looking problems.
Yeah. I think about that a lot in my own life. Just, you think other people have it good or better than you, and they have problems.
Yeah, everybody. Nobody has. I don't think anybody's immune. And if they say they are, then something's wrong.
Yeah.
Then they're ignoring something, because we're human beings. We're flawed. We're sinned. We're sinful.
Right. May not be. Yeah.
Yeah.
When another quote Ponyboy says is, "That's why we're separated. It's not money. It's feeling. You don't feel anything, and we feel too violently. And just don't forget that some of us watch the sunset too." Was that her saying
Yeah,
that?
they were talking about, Cherry and him both had talked about, like, how they watch the sunset. Like, something in common that you don't think about with those kind of people.
Mm-hmm. It's just... Yeah. So I didn't realize this book essentially started the young adult
Genre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that either. I didn't think about that.
They talk about that in the end. I don't know how. I mean, one of the quotes in the end was, she not single-handedly started the movement, but kind of in that time frame, she was
had a
one.
hand in it. Yeah. Lasting. Yeah. It talked about kind of in the middle, like Ponyboy was asking them why they fought, like why they wanted to fight, like what was in it for them, and then he said, Soda fought for fun, Steve fought for hatred, Derry for pride, and Two-Bit for conformity. And he said, why do I fight? He didn't really know why. I think it was just to be, that's what we do. But it's interesting to see somebody's for fun, somebody just, because they were so mad all the time. Derry was because he was big guy, wanted to, and then Two-Bit was just because that's what everybody else was doing to conform to what the world looks like. So
Right. Which is probably
That just hit me.
same as Ponyboy, or just wanting to be like his brothers.
Right. That's just what everyone around them did. So that's just what they grew up to do.
Yeah.
Kind of like when you grow up in a certain socioeconomic way, it's kind of like you don't, unless you have goals beyond, sometimes you just, which is okay. It's not a bad thing to do that. It's just, that's all you know.
Yeah.
So that's where you stay.
Yeah. I also kind of felt like this book just sort of ends. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not that I really wanted anything more, but I didn't feel like he had some breakthrough moment at the end.
Yeah.
It was sort of like, it was just his feelings, and that's okay.
Yeah. It wasn't like one of those like, oh, okay, it's so touching, or it's kind of a little depressing at the, what I mean, because like your life is just gonna be. You hope for him. I mean, in the end, you hope like Ponyboy is gonna, his writing and his schooling will help him get further. I think that's what they all hope for him.
Kind of like he ends up being like S.E. Hinton and writing this book.
Yeah.
'Cause I kind of feel like when you see at the end that he's writing
the story, the same story.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Yeah.
I think if it could have ended, like if he could have gotten well and had that conversation with his brothers that happens at the very end, if that could have happened, maybe, I don't know, you couldn't have it happen that way, but if he could have circled back to the stay gold part.
Yeah.
When Johnny's, and I guess he kind of does because he gets that letter, but I just, maybe wanted her to go into more of that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can always stick it, definitely, but I still, I think it was just, being the genre that it is, and the, it just kind of needed to be more,
To the point.
Yeah.
I wanted to look back at that poem.
Yeah, when he talked about, so Johnny left a letter inside Gone with the Wind and gave it to When they gave it to Ponyboy after Johnny passed away. We found that note.
Yeah. I need to go back and look at what he says. Maybe we can just look at what he says compared to
Oh yeah,
compared to the poem, because I never went back.
Yeah.
He says when. Do you know where it is?
I had it marked. Yeah.
I'll read the poem.
Yeah, here it is.
Nature's first green is gold. So he's saying that that's like adolescence.
Yeah.
Or kids.
Yeah, because it talks about. He says. Think about that poem. He meant you're gold when you're a kid, like green.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a kid, everything's new, dawn.
So why is that gold? Because it's like the most
Pure.
greatest time of your life.
Yeah, or like purest. I don't know. Gold. I don't know. That's a good question.
Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold.
Hmm.
It is hard to stay pure.
To stay,
like
exactly.
that way, like
See, when
saying.
you're a kid, you're like, everything is just, and then you realize
Innocent.
how crappy everything is, and then you
Yeah.
kind of can either turn really dark and not positive, or you can still remain, there's a
And
little
I-
bit of gold still.
Yes, I guess Ponyboy was that way because
Yeah.
he still felt like there was, because he read a lot and he had a
Mhm.
lot inside.
Mm-hmm.
He had that innocence and that like, I could be something someday, or I could
Yeah.
get past and get out of this, or.
Yeah, totally. He was the only one I felt like that could be like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, Johnny could have been.
I mean, yeah, the two of them would have done it together. Yeah.
I feel so bad for him.
Sad.
It's such a
Yeah.
hard life, and then
To die the way, but I mean,
But he did.
died saving people, and in the end, he said it was worth
Yeah.
it. So
her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. Well, it goes by quickly.
mm-hmm.
Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down today. Nothing gold can stay.
Mm-hmm. It's just when you get used to everything that it's day, and then he talked about how like the way you dig sunsets, Pony, that's gold. Keep that way. It's a good way to be.
It's like innocence. It just,
Mm-hmm. Still likes
back to
those
that,
little
yeah.
things and those things that we don't take for granted every single day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, I had one question. Something, I don't know where this was, but he says somebody had cheap eyes. Somebody's eyes look cheap, and I was like, what does that mean?
Cheap. CHEAP. Cheap.
Mhm.
Huh.
123.
Oh, cheap. Like a girl or
Yeah, it was like,
too much makeup?
yeah, it was somebody. Oh, Johnny's mother.
Mm.
She was a little woman with straight black hair and big black eyes like Johnny's. Oh, no, that's wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny Cake's eyes were fearful and sensitive. Hers were cheap and hard.
Mm. Maybe just like hard, not caring. Maybe just like rolling, like kind of, I think of like rolling your eyes and being like, I don't care about anything, kind of flippant.
Maybe like there was no depth.
Yeah,
to her.
yeah.
She was just superficial.
Whereas Johnny just had more of a sensitive, and he was a really good friend. Like he talked about how he would listen to him, and it was hard to find a friend that would really listen and talk to you and, be there for you.
Yeah.
Especially a dude.
Yeah, because they're not very.
Men are hard because they're not very deep all the time, or they don't want to be deep.
Yeah.
Or they don't
They
choose
don't
to go
allow.
deep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Themselves to do that. So I did, that was a good catch. I hadn't thought about that.
I just didn't know what that.
And she came to see him at the hospital, and but not nice.
did.
Terrible parents. Terrible parents.
Maybe people are younger when they're asleep. Oh, because he's looking at him and he's like, Ponyboy's looking at Johnny and thinking that he looks so young when he's sleeping.
When he's sleeping.
And Ponyboy says maybe people are younger when they're asleep.
Yeah. Probably do. Just
Kind of
because you're
are.
just sitting there and there's
Carefree.
nothing. Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
So
I thought about that.
that's all I got.
Yeah.
Stay gold, Jamie.
Yeah, stay gold. That could be something to remember because I don't think I caught. There's so much you don't catch. I'm sure when I read it in school, we had to do a whole thing on it, a talk, but whatever. I don't remember all that. So it's good to revisit these things. See, that's why I wanted to read it again. I was like, I know this book is really, a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to read it again.
And I felt like we've read some other books that were supposed to be a big deal, like Great Gatsby in 1984, and we were just like,
no.
okay.
Not to us, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I could
I
see
mean, at
maybe
the time.
Yeah.
So
It's good to see a 50, 50-year-old book that was,
more relatable,
Yeah.
I guess.
50 years old, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes. Keep on reading,
Reading,
raising, and praising.
Bye.